Welcome to Ringette Ontario's Team Talk, a social media series focused on connecting the Ringette community through conversations with players, coaches, officials, and sport leaders. This series is brought to you by SeeWhatSheCanDo. SeeWhatSheCanDo is a sport-loving community that celebrates active women of all backgrounds and capabilities and connects them to the people, stories, and local businesses they need to be active. Visit SeeWhatSheCanDo.com to explore stories of hope, resilience, adventure, and find the resources that inspire and keep you moving. Let's get started.
Hi everyone, my name's Jaclyn, and today for our episode of See What We Can Do, we are joined by Kayla Coombs, who is a mental health advocate and counselor. So I'm a part of Ringette Ontario's Athlete Advisory Committee, so let's say hi to Kayla. Hi.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Honored to be here. This is exciting. I really like this platform already. It's fun to be here.
Definitely. So I guess we can just start off. Did you want to tell us maybe a little bit about yourself and what your work kind of entails and what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, for sure. So I am a registered social worker. So I completed my Master's of Social Work at Wilfrid Laurier University. After going to the University of Guelph for 5 years, actually. And right now, currently, I'm a full-time school social worker, which keeps me very busy, as you can imagine, these days. And then I also do some private work on the side. So I do some private practice work. So yeah, busy days, but it's all good. I love it so much.
Definitely. So with all your experiences, you were saying, how would you define maybe mental health and wellness and illness and like maybe a differentiation between the three?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's important, people get confused when we hear the words mental health. Sometimes our mind will right away go to mental illnesses, so like anxiety, depression, which definitely is a part of mental health. But mental health is actually a health. So it is a positive concept. And just the same way as we need to take care of our physical health, we need to take care of our mental health. We need to take care of our brains. And so the World Health Organization, they actually define mental health as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community.
Yeah.
So very clear to see, right? That's all part of mental health. Mental illnesses are health conditions that involve changes in emotion, thinking, or behaviors. And so mental illnesses are really kind of like significant distress or problems in social life, work life, or family activities.
That was a good answer.
Yeah, so I'm just using the World Health Organization, which makes it pretty
always a good resource.
Yeah.
So as a teenager growing up, you played competitive basketball, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions maybe about sports being good or bad for your health. So was it a positive experience for you, or was it negative?
So positive. So I grew up playing sports my entire life. I was naturally very athletic, specifically in basketball and soccer. I played rep soccer for 10 years, and then played basketball at the University of Guelph, and really since I was in grade 5. And so it always gave me a sense of community. I constantly was surrounded by like-minded people. And I was such a kinesthetic learner, and I loved to move. And so running around on a court or on a field was always so good for me.
Yeah.
So many positive factors there for sure. And just the sense of community, right? It was just felt like a family, right? When you're on a team, you feel like it's family. And so I actually, and I also struggled academically from time to time. So having sports in my life was such a great outlet. It really, it was just such a good mental outlet. And I really felt the most confident actually playing sports growing up.
It's always good.
Yeah. So many, and the other thing too, right, with mental health, in university, people like to praise you, right, for all your talent and whatnot. So that obviously was nice to hear.
So you also mentioned earlier when you were talking that you dealt with a concussion when you were playing basketball, which unfortunately ended your career. So
Yeah.
it's kind of one way to go out of the sport. So
Yeah.
how did you kind of handle, the news of the concussion and then the news of not being able to play anymore? And how would you maybe guide like someone else through that experience?
Yeah, so I had many concussions. I sort of blame soccer growing up, so many headers, and I don't even think they allow people to head the ball as much as they used to now in the past. But yeah, lots of concussions. Two really bad ones that actually led to post-concussion syndrome. So that's basically prolonged symptoms over a year. Lasted about 2.5 years for me, just pressure and tons of symptoms. I remember not even being able to go on a walk because the pain and the pressure would occur, the headaches would come back. And so, yeah, I was told kind of lie in a dark room, right? That was kind of the old treatment, which nowadays they don't really say that, right? So ultimately, like you said, concussions, I still remember the conversation I had with my doctor. She said, if you play anymore, like you're just at risk, right? If you get hit one more time, your future is not going to look great. And this is, again, to some people, a sport, basketball is just a sport. To me, it was my life. It was my identity. It was everything, right? I had plans to go play semi-professional or in the works. Plans were in the works for that, and so many dreams, right? So it was a real sense of loss. I still even get emotional just thinking about it right now, right? That conversation with that doctor, and go try swimming. It's like, no, it's not this. So definitely impacted my mental health, right? That sense of loss, like grieving the sport. It's different obviously than grieving a person, but still a sense of loss. Definitely was kind of in a season of feeling depressed. Again, I saw many physiotherapists and doctors at the time, and one of the doctors said it's like you're a tiger trapped in a cage and you just can't get out. Like you need to move, right? My body was so not used to being so sedentary. And so then obviously had a big impact on my mental health as well.
For sure. So what would be like some positive, maybe coping strategies that you would give to girls or boys that are going through the same thing as you? Like something
just with injuries and concussions, I would say hold on to hope. It will get better. With concussions, there's tricky, right? Because again, it's similar to a mental illness. You can't see it, but it's very much there. And, over time, it does get better. It requires patience, a lot of patience, and it requires just time passing by. I think with concussions, a lot of it is time to go by, right? You need to give it time. We're, as human beings, we want everything quick, fast, yesterday, right? Especially me as like a type A kind of, just go-getter, right? And so that's kind of, again, that tiger in the cage, just like wanting to go. So, yeah, exactly. So I would just say, really try to tap into the patients that you have and surround yourself with people who are also going through similar injuries. I was thankful to kind of find other people who had been through concussions in a support group. So that was really helpful. Spoke with a therapist at the time, just kind of processing that grief, right? And so hold on to hope. And I would also just say that, know that you're more than an athlete. I think that's something I really wish I had heard more growing up. I'm sure my mom and dad said it to me, but it didn't really resonate. So hopefully that does resonate, right? Know that you are more than an athlete. You have more skills and talents to offer this world than just your sport. I think as an athlete, right, you can get so consumed in just the sport, right? Especially at a competitive level. So maybe just take some time to determine what other skills and talents you have. And maybe that'll take some time to it will take some time to figure out what other talents you have. But yeah, you're definitely more than an athlete.
So, you work so hard helping other people. You were saying you're, with a school and you help kids every day, and that's so admirable. But how do you take care of yourself? Because obviously, there's like the analogy of the oxygen mask. You have to put on yours before you can help other people. So, so how do you, take care of yourself? Because obviously that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So thankfully I'm in a position now where my health is much better. From time to time I'll get the odd symptom, but I'm in a position where I can walk and I can work out. I don't do crazy heavy weights, but that's a big one for me, right? So just moving my body again as that kinesthetic kind of person needs to move. Working out is big for me, making sure I move, every day. For me, it's a lot about structure and routine. Yeah. So really watching, what I eat, sort of having a balanced diet, getting my greens in. I have a sweet tooth, so it's tough sometimes. I'm always looking for that chocolate. But definitely like kind of watching what I eat, sleeping enough. I'm someone who also needs a lot of sleep. And then again, moving, right? So they say that the first line of defense against any mental health problem or mental illness is really eating, sleeping, exercising, right? So just really, I'm very intentional about those things. And I can notice, when I'm feeling off or just uneasy, or my mental health is maybe deteriorating, I ask myself those questions. Okay, have I slept enough last night?
Yeah.
Am I drinking enough water, right? And all these things, and I'm able to kind of figure out, okay, what I can do to get back on track. For me, faith is a big one too, around my mental health. Yeah, and then community, right? Being supported by friends and family members. There's nothing more powerful than just a really good conversation when you're struggling with someone. I like to do a lot of self-check-ins every now and then, and just, see how balanced I can be. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a dance, right? You don't want to be like a perfectionist. You want to just live and enjoy. You also want to be intentional. So, trying to balance that.
So now we have some questions that people submitted over like the last week on our social media. Mm-hmm. So one of the first ones that we have is, how important is language when it comes to discussing mental health and illness? And then just to go along with that, what are some ways that we can work on breaking down those negative stigmas that we have, especially, I'm sure you've seen it in sports where, you're told, don't cry, act tough, do it for your team all the time. How can we make sports a safer place emotionally for our players to kind of be in?
Yeah. Just as you're talking, one of the things I didn't say was boundaries too. I have to set boundaries just in terms of taking care of myself. That's something, if you're, whoever's watching, really make sure you set good, healthy boundaries, emotional, physical, that's really important too. So in terms of language, I would say, again, it comes back to, you want to make sure that when we talk about mental health, we are talking about a positive concept. It's so important just to use consistent language when discussing mental health and well-being, and just adopting common terms to help build a shared understanding of what mental health is. So in the school, right, it's really important that we all use the same language. It just kind of depends on, you need to educate yourself, right? I try to educate teachers. How can we use the same common language so that students are confused, so that they understand that mental health is a positive concept, kind of thing.
Yeah.
In terms of, the stigma around mental health, right? Unfortunately, it's still out there. I think this year, 2020, has been just amazing. Even if you're on Instagram, you're seeing like so many more people are opening up and sharing about, how they're feeling, and just really being vulnerable, which is so amazing to see. But ultimately, I just feel like people confuse what vulnerability is, right? I think to some, vulnerability is considered weak. And when in reality, it's really a sign of strength. It's a sign of courage. So being self-aware, being able to name how you feel, sharing how you feel with someone else, showing up even when you feel afraid or tired or you've had such a hard day, to me, that is strength. And in sports, it's helpful to be competitive, right? And I was extremely competitive. I was like a different person on the court. And you need to be mentally tough, for sure, especially if it's, a competitive sport. But why can't athletes also, be sharing if they're experiencing a mental health problem? I don't see, any problem with that. So, some of the most mentally tough people I know are those who do struggle with depression or anxiety. And one of my favorite social workers and researchers out there is Brene Brown. She does a ton of research on vulnerability, the power of vulnerability, and how it is such a sign of strength.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to read one of her quotes here because I just love it.
Yes, she's amazing.
Yeah, I definitely love her. So everyone go check her out, Brene Brown. So vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and to be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. And so I think you are really healthiest when you are checking in with yourself again and self-aware, and you can learn how to regulate and manage your emotions. To me, that's strength. And the best way to break down stigma is really just to talk about it, right? If you are to share a story with me, then that gives me the courage to share my story with you, kind of thing, right? And the more it's talked about, the more we can kind of dismantle stigma step by step.
Of course. And is there maybe any, negative language that comes to your head right away that, that's like a pet peeve when people say like, oh, this word associates with mental health?
That's a good question. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but not necessarily a pet peeve, but just when people right away say, oh yeah, mental health is all about schizophrenia. Like that's nothing to do with me, right? Some students are, oh, I'm not going to come to the wellness club. I don't have mental health, right? I always say, if you have a brain, you have mental health.
Definitely.
Right? Mental health is about, it's on a continuum. Mm-hmm. So from poor mental health to maybe positive mental health, right? From poor mental health to positive mental health. And each individual is somewhere on that continuum. And I think that's important to remember. So if you have a brain, you have mental health, just like you have physical health. And so, people like myself, counselors, therapists, everyone's trying to, preach that message, right? It's so important to take care of your mental health, and it should be talked about, right? I love, I was just even thinking about earlier today, the NBA star like DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love, right? He has a Kevin Love mental health foundation. And so these are real amazing athletes who are just so open and honest about their struggles with mental health. So that's just amazing to see, right?
Definitely.
People like that.
So would you say that social media has a negative impact on our mental health, or positive, or is it more of a neutral thing?
So with social media, the way I like to answer this question is, it's one I get a lot too from parents, but everyone's capacity to tolerate social media is different, right? So what one person can handle is different than what another individual can handle. And social media brings such joy, such good joy. It's a great way to connect with other people. Those TikToks, I'm not on TikTok, but TikToks are fun and they bring smiles to your face. But they're also, as we all know, there's a lot of research out there that says that social media phone usage has increased, and that is kind of one of the main reasons for the rise in anxiety and depression. And so I would just say with social media, know yourself, know what you can handle, know your capacity, know what you can't handle. Everything in moderation, right? How do you set boundaries, right? With your phone, can you turn off notifications? Can you put your phone outside of your bedroom, right? I always put my phone outside of my bedroom. There's research that says like, even if you have your phone by your bed, you just don't even sleep as well, right? Just knowing that it might go off, right? The idea of you trying to be in control of your phone so that your phone doesn't control you in your life. I think that's really important. So, in this season with COVID, I think it's great to have a phone. I think it's great to be able to connect, right? We need social connection right now when we're supposed to be physically distancing. So I think it's fantastic, but again, all about balance, right? Setting boundaries, taking, unplugging for a day can do wonders for our mental health.
Yeah, for sure. And then another question that kind of you kind of touched on there was parents. So how how can parents support their children, especially right now? Obviously, we're not, you're a very active person, but some people are in red zones where they can't be active with their communities. So how can maybe parents be a positive influence to their kids right now?
Yeah. So I would just say, again, it's very important to remember that every child is different, and what they, their temperament and what they can handle, what they can't handle. And so every sibling is different, right? And so I have a couple points here that I just wrote down, and I can read it out here. So number one is just support the social, emotional skill development and overall well-being of your child. There's been a lot of talk lately about how skills will be lagging in terms of social skills and academic skills after this pandemic, right? When we get to the other side of it. And so trying to keep your kids stimulated, right? And being creative and doing things that you don't normally do in the house, like playing games together or whatever, right? A really good question to ask your child is, what skill is asking to be developed right now? And having your child reflect on that, right? So maybe it's the skill of resiliency, right? How can you develop more resiliency in this season? And number two, know the signs of mental health problems. And so as a parent, really important to just do your own research, right? You can just Google, and there's tons of resources that will come out there for you. Just kind of noticing how your child is acting, if they're acting somewhat like out of character, right? Questioning that, noticing it. Helping your child access support if you think that professional help could be helpful and beneficial. And then just, being there for your child, right? Simply being present, right? Phone away, really listening, helping your child go through the ups and downs of life, and validating that this is a hard season, this isn't easy. Really being there and validating is going to do make a really big difference. And then I'd say take care of your own mental health, parents. You can model well-being for your children, and so you actually have the ability to co-regulate how your children's nervous system is. So you have a direct impact on your child's nervous system. So if you're yelling a lot, right, that has a direct impact on them. If you're talking in a calm manner, if you're slow and your tone of voice is helpful, that's going to help their nervous system. And so just this idea that you can co-regulate your child is an important one to keep in mind. And every child, I think, needs to have, a healthy, caring adult in their life. And so, and then I would say too, with social media, really, maybe just be a little bit more flexible. Teenagers really need their friends right now, and they're not always getting that same connection. So I would say, if you're really strict on social media, taking the phone away, that's not always going to be helpful in a time like this, right? So being a little bit flexible, and then structure and routine is also important. There's a lot. Parents, I admire you, all your parents out there. Tough job, but there's many supports. In some of the resources I have, there's specific support for parents during this time. So I'll send that out after.
Perfect. And just before we continue, don't forget, for our viewers, you can take a picture of the screen, and if you put it on your story or post it to your feed, then you're entered into the draw to win a Ringette Ontario blanket for free, compliments of Hometown Rivalry. So before we continue, I thought I'd throw that in there. So you were talking about, indicators of deteriorating mental health, or, maybe signs of mental illness. So I guess, what are kind of some signs, or I guess general signs? There's so many different mental illnesses. Obviously, we can't cover them all today, but what are, the general kind of signs of deteriorating mental health, and how can teammates and coaches and family kind of recognize those and support in the best way?
Yeah. So again, goes back to each individual is different, right? And so really important to consider what a person's baseline is. How do they normally respond to situations? If you feel like someone is acting out of character, right? Questioning that and noticing that is important. Again, mental health is on a continuum from poor to good mental health. And so again, we're all on that continuum. We may have days where we're feeling more on the poor side or maybe more on the good side, right? And it kind of changes day to day. And that's just a part of being human. And, I think if some signs, if you're unable to be productive at work or at home, if you can't get out of bed, there's some days, again, right? We're in, November, December, it's dark out, it's harder to get out of bed, right? And that's kind of, everyone feels that from time to time. But if you really consistently can't get out of bed, that could be telling. If you have a lot of negative thoughts running through your mind, you're not able to relax, those are all signs, right? And so I think it's important to know your warning signs, right? So to really reflect on what are your own warning signs, and ask the question, how will you know when your mental health is deteriorating? So what are your warning signs? How do you know when you're starting to get off track? For some people, again, they can't sleep. They're very emotional. For some, they start to feel panicky or out of control. And so what's most important, I would say, is understanding three things: intensity. So how intense is the behavior? Frequency, how often does the behavior occur? And then duration, how long does the behavior occur? So if it's just, I can't get out of bed one day and then I'm up and I'm great the next day and it's all good, that's different, obviously, than like a prolonged, I can't get out of bed. So looking at intensity, frequency, and duration is important, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think you asked me another question. What was the second question?
I asked a lot of questions all at once. So, like, how can we, if we notice somebody is maybe deteriorating, what would be, I don't say the best course of action, but the best way that we can kind of show them that we care and that we're there to support them?
Yeah, so really awesome. As therapists, we love this. We love answering this because it's like, hey, we can educate other people to come along and do the work as well, right? And again, I can't say it enough. It comes down to the individual really asking what is it that that person needs rather than assuming. We never want to assume. Someone might look really happy and we ask them, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing awful. Or they might look off, like they might look like they really are in panic or out of control or whatever. You're noticing some signs. You ask them, how are you doing? They're, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, right? And that's their honest, genuine answer. And so definitely take the time to ask. Some people want to be on their own. Some people want to be around people. Some people want to talk. Some people don't want to talk. And so it all depends on the individual.
Yeah.
And I would say for this, the best resource I've found so far is bethere.org. So very simple, bethere.org. And really, it's just a great resource of how to be there for people struggling with their mental health.
Yeah.
So they have 5 golden rules. I'm going to quickly, I don't have to go through all of them, but in detail. But the 5 golden rules in terms of taking care of other people who might be struggling and to be there. One is say what you see. So, hey, Jaclyn, I'm noticing that you've been withdrawing a lot lately. You haven't come out, and hung out with us. Or, I'm noticing that you look really down lately. What's up? Right? And notice how I said, what's up, not what's wrong. We don't want to assume something's wrong. We want to just ask, what's up? So we say what we see. We show that we care. And that's just by, I put my phone away. I look you in the eyes and I really listen to you. Actions speak louder than words.
Definitely.
And then we hear them out, right? We listen, and I don't just try to fix your problem right away. I really just try to listen. And then I know my role. So I know, right, if I wasn't a therapist, I'm not a therapist. I need to and the last one is connect to help. So I know my role, I know my capacity, I know my own mental health and what I can handle in terms of supporting someone else. If it's becoming too much of a burden for me and my mental health is starting to deteriorate, then I know, okay, maybe it's best to connect to someone else. So say what you see, show you care, hear them out, know your role, and connect to help. So if you go to bethere.org, you can see all of that more in detail.
Perfect. So one of our other questions, I think someone also asked it in our little comment bar, so I'll read both of them. But the one that we had written here was from somebody, and it said, I have not been able to play Ringette as much as I'm used to due to COVID. It is negatively affecting my mental health and the way I view myself as an athlete. So what can I do? And then I think the one on the side was quite similar. and it was, how do young players deal with the disappointment of not being able to play games and tournaments? And then Ali also asked one about how can we stay, I guess, kind of the similar, how do we stay motivated without, having a competition like provincials to look forward to?
Very good question. So, yeah, I've been there, not because of COVID, but of injuries, right? Where you just can't play the sport that you love. And so first I would just say, acknowledge that this is a loss, right? We want to acknowledge that. We want to name that. We want to give ourselves some time to feel sad about it. And yeah, just understand that this is a big loss for you right now. But we don't want to live there, right? So we want to kind of allow ourselves to be sad and grieve that and experience that loss, but we don't want to live there. So we do want to push forward and move forward in helpful ways. And, I would say, how do you tap into other things in your life? So if you think of getting other interests or passions in your life, not to necessarily replace Ringette, but just to, okay, what are some other creative ways and things that I can do right now during this season? There's something that you've always wanted to do that you never had the opportunity to do, right? Maybe you give up, you start knitting, right? I don't know, with your hands, or, and yeah, just tapping into your creativity, right? I think you're more creative than you really think you are. And then the other thing in regards to skill development, are there any kinds of skills in terms of your athletics that you can still work on right now? Maybe it's just focusing on cardio, right? You're not competing in tournaments and games, but how can you develop as an athlete right now so that you're actually, come to the end of COVID, we're through this, and then you have your first game again, you're the best player you've ever been, right? You can still be developing some skills right now. Again, if it's just cardio, right? So it's just about getting creative about in terms of how you can be developing and get creative, right? Think outside the box is really important. We want to see out of that all or nothing thinking. Because of COVID, I can't do anything. Well, no, you still can do some things, right?
For sure, yeah.
Considering what those things are. So what new hobby can you come up with right now? Or again, what are some other skills within your sport that you can try to develop right now?
For sure. And then our last viewer question was, are there any online resources that can help us with some of the emotional hardships that we're experiencing? So there's a lot of not, reliable and trustworthy websites that maybe spread false information. So what are some good ones that are tried and true and that are helpful and valid?
Yeah, so I put together a entire Google Drive with what I think are the best resources for right now. So everyone here is going to get that. And hopefully that's helpful to you. You'll get after this. And yeah, there's 7 mental health tips to get ready for the holidays. That's an important one. There's a lot of really amazing stuff in there. So definitely check out the Google Drive. I would say that in terms of mental health agencies, right, if you're looking for, I'd love to just talk to a counselor. And yeah, just, again, we don't want to only go to therapy if we're really suffering. Anyone can go to therapy. Anyone can talk to a counselor to set goals, and even if things are going well, right, just to be proactive as well. So a couple mental health agencies that I love are Straight Up Health is one, Support and Growth. And then there's BetterHelp, which is an app where they offer counseling. Ability Cares is also another app where there's free counseling if you just apply for it. And then, of course, there's private practice therapists. Some apps, there's Calm, is always nice, Headspace, the app What's Up, Youper, Cinvello. Again, this is all going to be in the Google Drive.
Which we will be posting on our website for those who are wondering.
Yeah, so that's kind of, again, and you'll see all my particular favorite websites will be on that Google Drive.
Perfect. So I think that's the end of our question. So you had a little breathing exercise demonstration for us. So
Oh, sorry. Also, one more thing with the Google Drive, there's an actual workbook for those experiencing anxiety or stress during this time. We can all relate to that, I'm sure.
Yes.
There's an actual workbook, right? So I just suggest you print that off, go through the workbook. It's free and just, an awesome workbook. Many professionals are recommending it right now. So that is, again, and there's about, I think, one or two, for sure one, and I think there might be two in the Google Drive. So definitely check that out. So the demonstration, okay, are we ready for that?
Yes.
All right. So we're just going to do a really quick self-reflection right now. So just a nice self-check-in to reflect on maybe where you are right now in terms of your own mental health. And so I just want you to take a minute and just consider, from this scale of 0, right, not doing well at all, to 10, doing amazing. Where do you think you are on that scale right now? Okay. If your number is lower than 5, so perhaps it's a 3.5, I just want you to consider, right, and ask yourself this question: what is one step that you can take to move maybe from a 3.5 to a 4? Okay, so if you haven't even got your number yet, just again, figure out where do you think you are on a scale from 0 to 10 in terms of how you're feeling right now today. Where's your mood from a scale of 0 to 10? Okay, so if it's a bit low on the lower side, so under 5 or 5 or under, let's say, again, you're 3.5. What is one step that you can take to move from a 3.5 to a 4? Okay, if your number is maybe an 8 or 9, my question for you is, what's one step that you can take to maintain positive mental health, to maintain that 8 or 9? Okay, so just consider those answers right now. And this is something you can do every single day, wherever you are. Hey, where am I right now on this scale? What is one thing, one step that I can take to move up the scale a little bit, right? And so the more self-aware that we are, the better we're able to learn how to manage our emotions, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate this practical moment. I'm gonna call it a moment of calm. Okay, I think during this pandemic, the best thing that we can do for ourselves is actually to take a break and to have a moment of calm. And you can have a moment of calm throughout your day. You just have to structure it in. You just have to be intentional about doing it. It could be 1 minute, it could be 30 seconds. And I like to call this like a mini vacation. I'm going on a mini vacation for 1 minute, right? And so, most people are feeling fatigued right now. Just want to validate that if you're feeling that way, it totally makes sense. And so it's really important we do these mini vacations and these moments of calm to sustain ourselves. So one of the most effective things and tools that we have all day long access to anytime we want is our breath. And so when we're stressed, we tend to take really shallow breaths. And we don't breathe properly. And so it's really important that we take deep, long inhales and exhales, deep, long breaths as much as we can throughout the day. So I just want you to get comfortable wherever you are right now. Just uncross your legs if they're crossed, put your feet on the ground, just get comfortable. And I'm just going to lead us through a really quick exercise here. Okay, so just want you to take a deep breath. And my breaths I always like to do in through my nose and exhale through my mouth, okay? So just take a deep breath right now, wherever you are. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your butt on the chair, feel your back on the chair. You can choose to keep your eyes open, or you can just slowly gaze on the ground, keep them, or you can you can shut them. You can close your eyes, or you can keep them open. And I just want you to think of a place of comfort for you, okay? A place where you go to feel safe. Perhaps this is your bedroom, in your bed, or this is, with a nice cozy blanket, or maybe this is the beach. So just visualize yourself in that space for a moment. and just consider how your mind and your body feels in that safe space. Okay, and now I just want you to gently inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want you to exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds. And when you do the exhale, I really want you to sigh and really make it dramatic. Okay, so again, deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds. And exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds. Okay, again, visualizing yourself in that safe space. How does your body feel? How relaxed do you feel? How safe do you feel? Again, really just taking a big deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds. And exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds. Okay, if your eyes are closed, you can gently start opening your eyes. Again, feel your butt on the chair, your back on the chair, wherever you're sitting. Feel your feet on the ground. Okay, so this is a grounding exercise. I don't know about you, but I was leading that and I feel calmer. And I don't know if we have time. I was going to do another grounding exercise, but okay, the last one is just, again, a very simple one. And by the way, all these exercises will be in the Google Doc. So this is called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. Again, when we're stressed or anxious or escalated, we feel like up here, right? We are sort of feeling out of control, whatever. So grounding exercise is exactly what it sounds like. You're just grounding yourself, right? Some people even lie on the ground when they feel stressed because it just grounds them. So this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. So again, we're going to take a big deep breath in through our nose for 4 seconds. Okay, exhale for 6. And just now, you don't have to do the 4, 6 anymore. Just breathe naturally. Whatever is natural for you, just take those deep breaths. Yeah, I see some yawning. That's a good sign. Okay, so I just want you to consider what are 5 things right now that you can see. Okay, so just look around you. What are 5 things you can see? You don't have to name it out loud, but if you want, you can. But just name it in your mind. Right? What are 5 things you can see? Take a big deep breath. What are 4 things that you can feel? Okay, so just consider what are 4 things I can feel right now. So maybe again, it's your butt on the chair, your back on the chair, your arm on the chair. Okay. What are 3 things you can hear? So maybe it's the sound of my voice. Might be a bit tricky to do this right now because there's not a lot going around on us, but just consider what are maybe 1 or 2 things you can hear. Maybe it's the fan, my voice. Okay. What are 2 things you can smell? Okay. So maybe it's the person next to you smells bad. Okay. So what are, 1 or 2 things you can smell? And then now I want you to name what is 1 positive thing that you like about yourself. Okay, sometimes it's hard to answer, but what is 1 positive thing that you like about you? Okay, and lastly, I just want you to take a big deep breath. And that's it for our grounding exercise. Okay.
That was good.
I hope that's helpful to just kind of during a time like this. And again, all these exercises, there's so many, right? With our breath, again, we always have access to it. There's box breathing is one of the other exercises I'm going to put in there. Even just with your hand, right? You could be in class, you could just be inhale, exhale, right? Yeah. So there's lots of exercises. And we always forget to breathe. It's so important. The best way to calm our nervous system, to feel that moment of calm, is to use our breath.
So I don't know. Does anyone have any last questions for Kayla? I don't see any. But thank you very much for joining us today. It was so nice to meet you and talk with you. I'm sure it was so informative for all of us. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And feel free, this might open up some things for you and you might want to chat further. I'm totally open for that. So I can post my email somewhere in a follow-up, and yeah, we can definitely keep chatting, and I'm open for more questions, right? This is just sort of surfacey stuff. Sometimes there's more that we can talk about if you'd like to. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And I think your Instagram's also tagged in the pictures too, in the post.
Okay, cool.
Go look there. You should be able to find it that way too. Thank you. So just before we go, we just wanted to recognize one of our players or coach. So every week for our team talk, we'd like to recognize somebody in the Ringette community that has a big positive impact. So this week we have a coach, and her name is Melanie Norris. And Melanie is an amazing Ringette coach and was nominated by her daughter, who says she's my biggest supporter. Whether it's something I need to get better at, a quick pep talk before the game, or even braiding my hair at the very last minute before we go on the ice, she does it all. She makes the sport 10 times better, and her smile on the bench makes me realize why I love the game so much. So thank you for all you do, Melanie, and all of our amazing coaches across Ontario. We can't thank you all, individually, but our heart goes out to you, especially right now. So thank you for all that you do. And if you would like to recognize someone for our next team talk, which will be January 14th, you can find us at Ringette Ontario, or at SeeWhatSheCanDo on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And our next team talk, like I said, is going to be January 14th, featuring a dietitian and sports nutritionist, Bianca Cordero. So thank you guys all for coming tonight. It was so nice to talk with you all, and we'll see you soon.